So how do you start out one of these things?
First, you start off by reading a word from our sponsors, which
Yeah.
we don't have any yet. So we'll get some
So
of
we'll
that.
say a word from our future sponsors.
Yeah. Word from our future sponsors. Buy their shit. It's awesome.
Yeah, we use it too. So
Every day, in fact.
mhm.
So the point of this podcast is to just talk about our adventures in dating here in Scottsdale as we try to improve ourselves as men and try to improve our dating lives, get better dates, more dates, higher quality dates with higher quality women, and really just the process of personal development that we're going through in order to make this happen.
Right. And to be all encompassing of our experiences, both in dating as well as just in personal development and how much they overlap,
Yeah.
intersect.
Because, like, in my mind, the only way to get higher quality women is to become a higher quality man. So that's really what this whole journey is about. Some people might say, like, oh, putting all this effort into dating is a waste of time. But to me, it's just a vehicle for becoming the best version of myself I can be.
Yeah, I think that something that we've been talking about a lot recently is authenticity, right? I think that
It's my word for the year.
it's your word for the year, exactly. And when I think about the process that we've been going through and about how much we've been learning and progressing and how important authenticity is. And when I think of being a high value man, I think of being, the epitome of authenticity. What does that look like? That's confidence, assertiveness, because that is the authentic expression of who we are as men, as people, as the authentic form of how we want to show up.
So I agree with you. What would you say to someone who would argue, though, oh, well, that's not authentic to me. I'm not a confident person and I'm not a dominant person. That's not authentic to me. What would you say to someone who said something like that?
I would say two things. I think number one, that everyone has their own definition of authenticity, right? That looks different for everybody. But I would stress to be sure, to go through the process of self-discovery so you actually know what authenticity looks like for you, right? Because if you say, "Oh, I'm not the type of person to do X, Y, and Z," then that's fine if that's a true expression of your authenticity. But is that really who you are, or is that the scared version of yourself? That's the version of yourself that hasn't decided that it wants to really pursue something bigger than themselves. Do what you need to do to really be clear on what authenticity looks like for you.
Yeah, and for me, I think that to say, oh, I'm not confident, that's not authentic to me, I don't think that's an accurate statement because confidence is really just lacking fear, right? So to say that, oh, I'm a fearful person, that's natural to me, I don't think that's true. I think fear is something that's just hiding and subduing your true, natural, authentic, confident self.
I actually disagree. I don't think that confidence is a lack of fear. I think it's the capacity to step into tension. It's confidence.
Okay.
Because even confident people feel fear. I consider myself confident. I feel fear.
I see what you're saying. I'm talking more about people who let fear control them,
Sure.
right?
I agree.
So if I say you're a fearful person, yeah, I do agree. A confident person doesn't not feel fear. No, like fear is a normal human emotion, but if you let it control yourself, then that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I agree. That is inauthenticity, yes.
Yeah, authenticity, right? And we talk about obviously the David Hawkins emotional scale all the time, where authenticity starts, I would say, is where courage, right?
I agree.
So when you're in the positive energy of that spectrum, then you are being more authentic because
Right.
you have the courage to be authentic.
Yeah, I agree with 100%.
So what kind of shenanigans did we get into this week?
This weekend?
Yeah, this past weekend. So went out Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. Thursday night, we went out to a neon rave party. I got invited to by a promoter because he saw a video of me on Instagram, one of my stories, shuffle dancing, which is something I'm super passionate about and that I love to do. And I think there's a valuable lesson in there, because we wouldn't have even known about that party. It was an invite only party by the promoters.
Is it really?
Yeah, because remember we had to download tickets and everything. So the tickets were free, but we had to know where to sign up, and the promoter was the one inviting people. And the reason that we got to go to that party, which was super fun, was because I was being authentic and expressing myself
that's a good point.
on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of guys, they don't know how to utilize social media and Instagram for improving their dating lives. And I'm definitely not someone who like, I don't have an expert Instagram at all. Like I have decent pictures, I have decent amount of followers, but it's something like special, something outrageous. I don't look like a celebrity or anything.
Yeah.
So it's something that I'm still even working on and want to improve. But just that simple act of vulnerability of posting videos of me dancing got me, and by extension you, invited to a cool party, cool exclusive party. We had a good time there.
Yeah. To touch on like, social media and Instagram, I was always the type of guy that I looked at it as social media as like bait, right?
Mhm.
So I never engaged with it.
I think there's an element of that
Well, yeah,
for
there's an
sure.
element of that, but I think in today's day and age, in 2025, it's a phenomenally important tool for anybody that's learning to be socially aware, but also be socially connected to people that live in your area, whatever capacity that's like, and
Yeah.
even don't live in your area, so you can connect with, like I know you've been connecting with a lot of shuffle influencers,
Yeah.
like that's it's. I didn't see the value social media to really started this process of dating and like creating a social circle and utilizing the tools at my disposal. One of those being social media.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of carryover too between like social media, people thinking it's vain, and then nightlife, and people thinking that's kind of like
Yeah,
vain or that's oh, it's just for low quality people. It's that's not where you meet good people or
that's not where you
whatever.
could meet your wife. Yeah,
But no, I think that both of them are microcosms of human nature.
I
And
100%
that
agree.
is the value.
I
That's the value
100%.
because
Yeah,
if you want to be good at dating, like you got to understand human nature. You got to have good social skills, which means you have to understand social dynamics.
I agree.
And
Yeah,
on
that's
social
yeah,
media is nothing but human social dynamics being amplified. And
exactly.
nightlife is nothing but human social dynamics being amplified.
Yep.
And so I think that's one reason why it makes a lot of people uncomfortable too, is because a lot of people I think are very uncomfortable with the social dynamics that are truly natural to human beings,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
They don't like it, it makes them very uncomfortable. And I think they create moral stories around it to make them feel better about like not having to
yeah.
participate. It's like, well, that's bad.
I think I even did that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I probably still do it at times
yeah,
as a coping mechanism,
yeah.
right?
Right. Historically made me uncomfortable. So I was like, oh, I don't do that because I do other things that are better.
Yeah.
Right. But really, I just was being inauthentic. It wasn't. I was letting my fear dictate how to live my
Right.
life. So,
Yeah, the bars and clubs, they're just so raw.
yeah, they are. They are.
They're unforgiving.
Yeah, and I agree that there is a piece of the puzzle that makes up social dynamics and dating. Not to say that they're the only place that you can flourish in dating, but they are. There's a lot that happens in nightlife in relation to dating.
Yeah. I personally think that there's no other way that you can improve as fast.
I agree.
Like you, sure,
It's very intense.
you can improve your dating
Yeah.
life by getting involved in other like organizations or groups or hobbies. You can approach women during the day, you can do online dating, and you can improve, but nothing is going to help you improve at the speed that nightlife will.
Right. And truly be like charismatic, confident,
Yeah.
ability to step into tension.
Mhm.
All of that is turned up like 1,000 notches when you're in a club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can think of it like a practice field too. That's the best part about it because at the end of the day, if you want to get better at any skill, you have to practice. So if you go somewhere where you can practice with 100 people on the spot, you're gonna get better faster
Yeah.
versus, oh, well, I'll just approach women as I'm going about my day. It's like, okay, so you approach one woman a day, two women a day at best, but you probably don't even do that. You probably see two hot women a day, get scared to talk to them and don't say anything, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how it is. So for nightlife, and another good thing about nightlife is you feel a little more anonymity there because there's so many people and there's so much chaos.
Yeah,
So you
true.
just walk up to someone and say hi. If it doesn't go well, you just walk away. It's no big deal. During the day, I find daytime approaches way more frightening because I feel very on display. I'm doing this in public, right? Whereas at nightlife,
It's kind of expected too.
people are drunk. They expect you to socialize. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, and I think just the volume that you get from nightlife, the opportunities, like you said, you if you go through your daily life, maybe you see two attractive girls a day. Maybe if you're really lucky, you see two a day,
Yeah.
right? But if you go out, depending on where you live, like
I mean, if
say,
you're in Scottsdale, you might see a lot more, but
yeah, well, true, yeah, true, true. But like you go out on a Friday or Saturday night in Scottsdale, and you see hundreds,
hundreds.
hundreds.
It's glorious. Yeah, I love living here. Is so much opportunity. The other thing that nightlife gives you is the opportunity to build up state. And that's something that
Is that unique to nightlife?
it is because, well, you can do it during the day, but how do you build state? Like constantly approaching. So if you want to do it during the day, you have to go somewhere where you can approach a girl every minute,
Yeah, true.
right? And how many places are like that? Like maybe if you go to a bustling beach during the summer, you could do that during the day. But
But
it's
this goes
just,
back to quantity and opportunity. Like
yeah,
there's I don't say abundant quantity, but almost abundant quantity when you're depending on where you're out. If you're out at the club,
yeah,
you can literally just like talk to somebody, talk to somebody, talk to somebody.
yeah. You're surrounded by hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And if there's 6 clubs right next to each other on the street, and each club has 200 people in it, you have the ability to talk, 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 and talk. So let's keep it basic for people. Like I said, to get into state, let's define what that is. So that guy who's just starting out is like, well, I want to improve my dating life. What are you talking about? What is state? Right.
Yeah, that's a good question, right? And it's how do you simplify that?
So I would say like state is like it's just a short way of saying your energetic state. And it's basically just to say how you're feeling.
Oh, yeah.
What is your current energetic state? How are you feeling? And I actually think that achieving like a really high state, which means you're feeling really good, you're feeling really confident, really free within yourself, you're free to express yourself. That's what happens when you get into a good state. And I think that so many guys have literally never experienced it.
Yeah.
So you have to tell them what it is. And when guys go out for the first time or something, maybe they have extreme social anxiety, they don't know how to do it. They're probably not gonna achieve it on their first night. Maybe they will, maybe they can achieve it with alcohol. But state is essentially, I don't want to say it's the goal, as in like if without it you can't do anything else, because you can always take action without it. But when you approach people and talk to people consistently without taking lots of breaks, without sitting around getting in your head, your state starts to rise and you start to become more extroverted as a result of it. You start to have more fun. You start to release a lot of your insecurities and your self-sabotaging thoughts because just become more present to the moment. So I guess another way of saying is it's like a flow state.
Yeah.
So in a flow state, you're not thinking about what could go wrong. In a flow state, you're focused on what you're doing.
Right. There's no thinking about what to say. You're just saying and flowing. And so for me, like whenever I'm in state, like you had mentioned before, it's about how do you feel good, right? And as I feel better, as I take more action, I start to feel better, and that good feeling is easier for it to just flow out of me. So I stopped thinking about what to say because I just let it flow out of
Yeah.
me. I think that's like where most guys get hung up, right? They don't know what to say, which is like I believe
I think that is the
understandable.
number
Yeah.
one place that guys get hung up. And what I always tell guys is that knowing what to say, because they always want to know the logical answer to it, right? Like, well, what do I say? What do I say? Give me conversation topics or something like that. It's like knowing what to say is not a technical issue. It's an inner issue. It's a state issue,
Yeah.
right? Because if you are in a good state of mind, you're not going to run out of things to say. Like everyone's had the experience, like even just like we're having right now, just talking to each other, recording this. If you're having a conversation with a friend, you're not thinking like, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? Do you need conversation topics to talk to your family, to talk to your friends? No. So you don't need conversation topics to talk to a girl either. What you need is to feel comfortable.
Feel comfortable
That's
and feel
it.
good. Yeah,
That's it. That's how you don't run out of things to say. That's where the conversation topics come from. They actually come from your inner state,
right.
not from some list you built in your head, some routine you learned, some lines you learned, or anything like that. So the key is always, if you're struggling, if you're in your head, you don't know what to say, the key is to put yourself in a better state.
Yeah, and I want to talk about too the fact that going out and just social interaction in general, fundamental, the base of it is about how you feel and how people feel around you. It's not even about what you're saying, right?
Yeah,
It's literally
100%.
it's literally about your state, right? And so the more that you try and come up with something to say, the more out of state you actually are. It's really about getting to the feeling of having a good time, of feeling comfortable, like you said, feeling good around people, and then everything else comes out smooth, a lot more smooth.
Mhm.
So,
And so, just to reiterate, the way to get into a better state is to talk to people without, well, I'll say with minimizing the amount of time in between conversations. So, you talk to someone, at the beginning when your state isn't good, maybe you just have a 15, 30 second interaction with someone. That interaction ends, you immediately go to the next person, have a 30 second to 60 second interaction. That ends, you immediately go to the next person, have a 2 to 5 minute conversation with them. And as you do this, as you go through this process, you will begin to shed the insecurities and the fears, and your state will continue to grow. So start with baby stepping your way into it. Like, I mean, for me, we went out last night. When I first got there, I was all up in my head.
yeah.
All up in my head. And I was like, oh, I don't even want to be here. Like, this is like the first 15 minutes I'm out. Like, I don't want to be here tonight. It's not going to be a good night. I'm not feeling good. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to say to people. I was literally thinking that
Yeah,
last night,
that's funny.
but I pushed through that, had a few short interactions with people. When you're going through this process of getting into a better state, you want to be extremely non-judgmental about who you talk to. Like, talk to anyone. You can talk to guys, you can talk to girls, people you know, people you don't know. Like, just
Right.
say words, like, because you want to get into that action taking
Yeah,
mode,
it's about action.
right? And eventually, after about 20, 30 minutes, I started to feel really good. Then we ended up talking to a couple girls and we had like a 30-minute interaction with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so like overall, last night went pretty well, right? And I think that we followed the progression that mindset is built upon, right? It's just take action until you get into a good state. From there, everything is so much easier. Interaction is easier. The way people respond to you is well because when you're in state, you're feeling good. You're feeling good, other people are feeling good too, and they want to be like
Yes,
when people are out, that's what they
that is
want.
so key.
Yeah, they want to feel good. They want to be surrounded by people that make you feel good. And that's what getting into state is that's what that means, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like, if someone were to come up to you in the club and they're happy and they're excited to talk to you, how do you feel talking to them?
Yeah, I'm like, wow, this guy's the man.
Yeah,
I
like, this
fucking I
guy's
love this
cool.
guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's cool. He's fun to be around, and yeah, he's a giver of positive energy.
Yes,
A
right.
giver of
Giving
positive
positive energy. 'Cause I was gonna say he's not making it about him,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
He's making it about you.
yeah.
His energy is flowing outward.
Right. That is, in my opinion, that's the key, right? Is to get your energy floating outward because when you're in your head, all your energy is going inward.
Yeah.
And it's like almost like you're sucking energy in from around you.
Yeah. Right. You
Versus,
walk up to a girl and
yeah,
you're in your head, you're sucking her energy,
yeah,
which is why she doesn't want to talk
and
to you.
she can tell that from across the bar.
Oh yeah.
Who is sucking
100%.
energy and who's giving energy. So it's good. I think that understanding the importance of state and feeling good and being a giver of energy when you're out in nightlife is good, and also understanding how do you get to a place where you are as a human being, you're just a giver of energy, right? So to do all the work in the background, if you will, to actually start to like who you are, to fill your own cup,
Yeah.
to have things in your life, to have activities in your life that give you positive energy, so that whenever you show up, well, you go, well, you have that energy to keep up.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into
There's a
that.
lot that goes into that for
And
sure. Yeah.
what I want to say to guys too is that if you're like, oh my God, I'm so introverted. I could
Right.
never be an extrovert or have my energy flowing outward like that. Yes, you can. Like,
Yeah.
I consider myself an
I'm
introvert. You
super
can,
introverted.
yeah, we're both
Yeah,
introverts.
super.
But when we go out and we practice these techniques, it puts us into a more extroverted state.
Right.
So it's available to anyone because this is just a practice. It's just something you do. It's not something,
Just energy management.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not something you have to be born with. You don't have to be a natural talker. Anyone who's in a good, even an introvert who's in a good mood is going to be yapping away with someone that they care about or they
Yeah.
like and are having fun with,
Yeah. That's a
right? They're
good
going to be
point.
expressing
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that goes back to, like you had mentioned, on a more zoomed out holistic view of this, right? The line between, I don't want to say the line between, but there's a lot of overlap between personal development and specific to who you are as a person and for dating.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think the a big reason that is because everything you do outside of the club, can help or hinder you to how well you show up energy wise when you get there.
Yeah.
And so if you're not taking the time to really, fill up your cup, learn to be genuinely happy with who you are,
Yeah.
it's going to be tough to show up with good energy. So the rest of your life supports you when you do step into those moments of tension, when you do go talk to that girl, when you do lean in for a kiss or whatever it is, who you are is what's driving those interactions. So you have to be able to fundamentally set up your life in a way to support what it is that the goals you want to achieve, whether it's dating or anything. How well do your systems support your ability to go after what you want?
Yeah. Where do you think, where do you start with all that?
Where I started with all that was compassion. And
Compassion.
yeah, compassion was so I started this journey of trying to improve my dating life. And at the time, I was in a bad place. And I think a lot of guys have that experience of getting to a really bad place and being like, fuck, I need to figure out this dating shit, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I was in a dark place. What brought me out of that was, the first time that I was able to look at myself in the darkness that I was feeling with some amount of, mindfulness and to be, well, I'm feeling terrible right now. That's okay. I'm just gonna be with myself as I feel this terribleness. And you keep walking down that path of compassion, and eventually you walk yourself out of the darkness, and
Yeah.
you actually start to come to a place of more light. And you start to fill up your cup. You feel better about who you are in your life, and you
Mhm.
really start to show up differently in front of people, in front of girls, and it really makes a big difference when you have that energy to give
Yeah.
versus when you're in a dark place and you're sucking that energy.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. And yeah, 'cause for me, yeah, compassion, like that's so huge. For me, like the word that comes to mind is integrity. When I'm living my life outside of the club in a way that like I'm not proud of, if I'm engaging in behaviors that I'm not proud of, if I'm being lazy, if I'm being unproductive, if I'm giving in to my vices, and I just don't feel good about myself, it becomes really hard to go out and want to express myself to people,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because I spent this week doing things that I'm not proud of, then I'm supposed to go out Friday night and proudly express myself.
Right,
Like, no,
yeah, exactly.
that's
Yeah.
not how it works at all, right?
Right. Let me just flip that switch real quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's when it comes to dating and game, usually like people often break it down into a dichotomy of like your inner game versus your outer game. Your outer game is just like what you do, basically. It's like the actions you take to improve your dating life, but your inner game is fixing all that, like how I feel about myself, my
Yeah.
confidence, and all that. And so you absolutely have to have both in order to be successful. You have to feel good about yourself. You have to feel proud about yourself. You have to feel like you are the type of man that a woman would want to be with,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because if you were a salesman, you were selling a product that you didn't believe in or that you knew was a scam, it'd be hard to sell it very well,
Yeah.
right? Maybe you could learn to manipulate people or something, but deep down you'd be like, yeah, I know this really isn't what you want. I know this really
Yeah.
isn't what you need. And people,
I feel
especially
that.
women,
Yeah.
women can pick up on that
They're all
so
over
good.
it. They're
Yeah,
all
like
over it.
bloodhounds. They can smell that shit from a mile away.
Yeah.
They can pick up on the tiniest little like you guys, you need to understand this. Like you do one weird little thing with your eye, a girl will pick up on that and like it's over.
It's over.
Like she knows you're full of shit. She knows it, right? They
Yeah,
they have
I
they
learned
have
that lesson.
evolved. Like I call them superpowers.
Yeah.
Like they're really incredible what they can do, how they can sniff out bullshit from men. They'll know.
Yeah.
They'll know if you're faking it. They'll know if deep down inside you're feeling shame, and deep down inside you're thinking, please don't accept me because I'm not a good man.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and that's where a lot of guys are, is they don't feel good enough for women. Sometimes that feeling becomes so intense that they end up just projecting it, and then they'll say like, oh, women are terrible. So like women aren't worth dating. I'm too good for women. But
Whole
that's
myriad
yeah,
of things
that
can happen at
yeah,
that
and
point
that's
for
a whole
sure.
rabbit hole. Like
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
address that kind of stuff for sure in a later
Yeah.
episode. But like that's there's probably too much in there to go into right
Yeah, you could
now.
talk about that all day for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, you could.
but I mean that is, and we will have to do an episode on that because that is one of the biggest things holding men back in our current society is that they are just not feeling good towards the opposite gender, and it's unfortunate
Yeah. You know,
because honestly, I will slip into it too
yeah.
when I go through phases of my dating life where I'm not doing well. It's very easy to want to slip into that because it's a
Yeah.
victim mindset.
Yeah.
It makes it feel like it's not your fault. But what I've experienced, just over the past month with you going out regularly, the better my energy is becoming, the better women are reacting to me, the more I'm starting to like women, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
And think like, oh
Yeah.
wow, these women are great
They're
because
so
they're
sweet.
so sweet, they're so
Yeah.
kind to
Yeah.
me,
They
they
really
like
are.
me,
They
and
love
the
laughing at my jokes.
yeah, the
Yeah.
reason they're doing that is because I improved myself as a man.
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
level of accountability is
It
crucial.
really
We
is.
talked about compassion, we talked about integrity, and I think accountability, if we want to make it a trifecta, would be
Let's do it.
like, yeah, let's do it.
Trifecta.
Trifecta is upon us.
First
All right.
episode. Yeah.
So accountability is so huge. Do not play victim to your circumstances. Do not play victim to society or something you read on the internet about how women these days or men these days or
Yeah.
whatever, right? Like at the end of the day, if you're a good man, a quality man, a masculine man, not a nice man, like, but a high quality man, women are going to respond well to you.
Yeah, 100%. If you have good energy, if you can show up with authenticity and some form of strength and backbone, and also some ability to have empathy with people, that goes really far. It really does. And I think that it's missing, right? It's
Oh,
sorely missing.
it's really
It's
bad right
sorely
now.
missing, yeah. And you mentioned something too that like guys, there seems to be a move towards some guys that aren't feeling that good towards women right now, and yeah, we're missing good leadership for those guys. We really are.
Agreed.
We are
Yeah,
we are letting those guys down.
the
Even
leadership is
even though how they project themselves may not be in the best light, they're really like you said, they're hurting. They don't know what to do about it, and they
yeah,
have no path forward.
yeah,
So they're resorting to just doing whatever they can, and it shows up ugly sometimes, right? And so I think guys like us, we have the opportunity to redefine masculinity as positive, strong, authentic force in the world. And it's sorely needed by many guys because I think most guys are lost. I was certainly lost.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you did something, we both did something that I think is a symbol of the accountability that we're talking about, and that says something about our masculinity is we took an honest look at ourselves, an honest look at our dating lives, and we said, you know what? I need to change.
Yeah. I need to
I
change.
need to improve. I
Yeah.
need to fix some things. And that is a journey that we've both been on
Yeah.
and has completely changed our life.
And what about, I'll extend that too. I need to change and I need help.
Yeah. If you don't know where to
I
start,
couldn't do it myself. I
you
couldn't have
know,
done it myself.
no,
I couldn't have done it
no,
myself.
I think, yeah, brotherhood and leadership, seeking out those two things. So seeking out someone who knows more than you, who knows what they're doing, who's practiced, who's been there, and then finding brothers who are on the same journey as you. is huge,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
most guys, I feel like right now, their brotherhood is like the guys they play video games with online. They're not really going out there, going after girls,
Right.
trying to improve their
They're not
lives.
working on their inner lives either.
No,
Yeah.
they're not even going to the gym. If you are surrounded by people who are constantly pushing you and that you want to make sure that you maintain their respect, that's going to push you to have higher standards in your life for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's an art to finding those people around you, to find those mentors. I think that's maybe a whole episode of itself.
That's a whole episode for sure.
Maybe it's 3 or 4 episodes on
Yeah.
itself. But in general, I absolutely agree. I think that you can spend 10 years trying to learn about, authenticity and leadership and, how to move in nightlife. It might take you 10 years to actually learn the fundamentals versus seeking some mentors that genuinely have experience and want the best for you. And again, it's a complicated topic for sure, but
Absolutely, yeah. I think kind of going back to what you just said earlier, a lot of the problem is with the leadership now is a lot of guys just came out and started validating guys' negative beliefs and
yeah,
validating their victim mindsets. So like these guys, like they clearly don't have your best interests in mind. They probably just want money from you. So they're saying like, oh, it's okay that you feel this way. It's women's fault. Give me some money. Like
yeah,
that's kind
yeah,
of how it goes. So you need to find someone who one is going to hold you accountable and say, hey, I'm not going to let you play victim and is going to genuinely help you.
yeah. We do. We need a new class of leadership
I agree.
in society.
Yeah, because it was, in the 2000s, it was the pickup artists and they had their good values, but they also had some things about them that were a lot more shady. And then, the red pill came up and it just became this like, let's hate on women shit show.
And the echo chamber of the internet
Yeah.
amplify that.
So now there's dating coaches and some of them are good, some of them not as good, but at least they're trying. I think you're right that there's definitely room for a new class that takes a lot of the good attributes of maybe these former movements that were trying to help men and synthesizes it into something new and positive.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. That's what Scott's done, boys are
Hey,
for.
that's what we're here for, all right? Well, that might be a good place to end it for
Yeah,
today then. What I would say today is that probably the message that guys need to hear more than anything is like you can. You can improve yourself. You can improve your life. You can improve your dating life. Like it is possible.
it's not like possible. It's the most like one of the most meaningful things you can do in your life too.
It is, right? And I kind of touched on this earlier. Improving your dating life is really just means improving yourself.
Yeah,
And there's no greater feeling than improving yourself.
making
And because
progress.
I see women as feedback from the universe.
Yeah, I do
Well,
too.
women really are just the universe telling you how you're showing up as a man.
Yeah, where you're at.
And
Yeah,
that's a brutal, brutal way to look at yourself in the mirror,
but you do grow.
you grow.
You
You
grow when
grow
you
a
do that.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah. Being able to look at what's not so great about you will will help you grow.
yeah, for sure.
So be
That's like
brave, be
that's what we're
courageous.
about. So
Yeah.
yeah, so awesome.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. And go talk to some girls.
Love
Later.
that actually. Fire, dude.
That's fine.
That's fire.